In the name of the Lunenburg Water District of Lunenburg, Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the voters of the Lunenburg Water District to meet in the Lunenburg Water District, 496 Massachusetts Ave.
Excuse me, the meeting has started.
In said Lunenburg, Saturday the 28th day of March at 10 o'clock in the forenoon, then and there to act on the following articles. At this time, we do not have a moderator. Would someone like to make a motion to appoint one?
Barbara Turkington, 110. Barbara Turkington, 110 Royal Fern Drive. I'd like to nominate Carol Hatch as moderator.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Okay, Carol Hatch is moderator for this meeting.
Anyone opposed? Nobody else wants it. Good morning, everyone. How are you all? Hi, Dave.
Hey, good morning.
I just want you to know, Dave and my father always sat near each other at town meeting, and they almost always canceled out each other's votes. But you know what? They got along. And it's a really important story because we know things have not always been copacetic. And it's important for us to remember, like it or not, we're all in this together. And opinions are just opinions. And it's really important that we stick to facts and not be, if you disagree with something a previous speaker says, please just come up and say the previous speaker, don't call people by name, and be nice. So when you come up, you need to grab the microphone, say your name and your address before you speak, and you have to do it every time. It might seem silly, but those are the rules. Meanwhile, let's test our clickers. Does everybody have a clicker? Okay. And where's the question that's supposed to pop up? I was told there was going to be a question up there.
There's going to be multiple screens up there, so if you don't see your number right away, she's going to keep scrolling through the screens. You don't have to continually click the button. You may have to push it once or twice to turn it on, and then you click A or B. And as she scrolls through, if it lights up blue, your clicker is working. We did test all of these yesterday, but if somebody does have an issue, please let us know.
Yeah, you can go up and look for your number. Oh, no worries. And I'm glad you didn't take it as like an insult. Yeah. Like I said, I just forget the days of the week now. Hi, how are you? Good. Yes, it was. I got a bottle of bourbon. Well, what did I get this time? What did I get this time? That's what I got. Yeah. And the price on the regular one is good. The other ones are more expensive. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Somebody had to. Thank you. too. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about her. Yes, I do remember that. It shouldn't all take very long.
When you do vote, we'll say okay next to your number after you press yes or no.
Folks, just so you know, when you vote, it will say okay in the window. So you always want to check that when you vote. The other thing is, don't keep pressing a button. Press it, wait for the reaction, and then if in a little bit nothing happens, press it again. But there can be real glitches as everybody just keeps pressing their buttons. You know, I knew that I just opened that up to like a whole bunch of jokes, right? What was that? Yeah, there you go. I tell my husband, I know I drive you crazy. There's no you don't. Yeah. I know I drive you crazy. You can be sweet, but yeah. Because I'm like, you drive me crazy, so you say it back to me. Is everybody else set? Do they, with their clickers? Is anybody not all set? Okay, we're going to start. For those who just wandered in, my name is Carol Hatch. I live at 41 Hilltop Lane. If you wish to speak, you come up here, grab the microphone. Each time you speak, you need to state your name and your address. It's really important that we do not get into anything personal. If you disagree with what someone says, just get up and say, I disagree with what the speaker before said. No calling out names. Let's make this be fair. Civil, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Okay. I now open the meeting. What time is it? 10:20. Article number 1. To choose by ballot the following are, oh no, we have to skip that one, don't we? Yes, Article 1 is before us.
I make a motion to pass over Article 1 till the polls close at 4 p.m.
He made a motion to pass over Article 1 until the polls are closed.
I second that.
All those in favor? Okay, discussion, sorry. Discussion? Come on up.
Joan Pease, 11 Wintergreen Court. At 4 p.m. when the polls close, will the ballots be opened in a public arena?
Yes. So what's going to happen is we're starting the meeting now, and then it will recess. We will not close it this morning. It will be kept open, and we will resume at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
But will the ballots be open during the resumed meeting at 4 o'clock in public?
Yes. Yeah, in the office, but yes.
Not in the meeting? No. But will the ballots be open in public?
Through you, Madam Moderator, Brian Riley with the District Council. Yeah, the election laws require that the opening the ballots and the counting happen in public. And so I believe that'll be back in the office, so you can stand on the other side of the desk. It will be open so you can see and hear what the poll workers are doing. Sorry about that. Is that better? Okay. My name is Brian Riley with the District Council. Under the state election laws, when the polls are closed, the ballot box is opened, and the counting begins, that has to be open to the public.
I would like to make a motion then that the ballots be opened in this room at the front table for the counting of the ballots.
Yeah, it's not really something we can make a motion about.
That's not something town meeting votes on. It's going to be in a public area so that with a guardrail, so to speak, in between, and the public can be there to watch. But that's where it's going to be counted.
And how much room is there for public to watch?
It's done in our office.
Yeah.
So we will be counting all of the ballots in our office. Behind the counter, you are allowed to stand. So whether one of you wants to stand there or 20 of you want to pack in, that's fine. The ballots will be counted in the office. In order to give us, according to Mass General Law, observers have to stand behind the guardrail. You cannot be standing over us.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So we're back to
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. Are all the ballots in the ballot box, the absentee ballots as well as the ones that are cast today?
Yes.
Thank you.
any other discussion?
Iris Single, 13 Wintergreen Court. Are we tabling the entire meeting to 4 o'clock, everything that we were going to vote on?
No.
Okay.
Just the motion was made to pass over Article 1 until this afternoon, and then we will proceed now with the other articles.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? All those in favor of passing over Article 1, please say aye. Yep. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. Okay, you have your clickers. Well, we have to vote on passing it over. We're going to do it. I forgot about the clickers, so let me know when you're ready.
Yep, she is. Give her a minute.
Okay. All those in, well, go ahead and vote. Vote yes if you agree to passing over Article 1. Vote no if you don't.
So on your clicker, 1A is yes, 2B is no. I don't know, I'm waiting.
Is everyone else set? So the motion to pass over passes. Article 2, to accept the reports of the district officers. I don't have to read it.
Mrs. Moderator, I make a motion to accept the reports of the district officers. I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh. I know, that's what I'm just about to do. All those in favor vote yes. Those not in favor vote no. You can abstain. That's 3C. 3C. Is everyone set? No? Yeah, actually, I was just told, just don't vote if you're abstaining. We're working out the kinks here. Okay, voting is now over. Okay, Article 2 passes. Article 3.
Madam Moderator, I make a motion to appropriate from the income of the district the sum of $2,105,963.44 or some other sum or sums to be used to defray the regular annual operational and maintenance costs of the district for the fiscal year 2027 and fix the salary and compensation of the several elected officers of the district, all set forth in detail in the maintenance and operational budget for the ensuing year, or act anything thereon.
Any discussion? Come up. If you have something to say, please come up to the front, grab the microphone, state your name and your address. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Sharon Jordan. I live at 77 Burridge Street, and I would like to know when this information was discussed or presented to the voting members of the Water District. This is the first time I've seen it. When was this presented to and discussed by the Water District voters before today's vote?
So we have had several public meetings where we discussed the budget and allocations, and then as a board we voted to approve and bring the budget to the district for approval.
I understand that the commissioners approved it. What I'm asking is when there was a session for the public to learn about this in here, just at your 4 o'clock Water District Commissioner meetings where there's no discussion. Public comment is just you say something, but there's no back and forth. Is that right?
Anybody can request to be on the agenda. It was an item that was on the agenda.
Okay.
And that would be open for public discussion.
Okay.
And they would have been invited at that time to have a discussion about the budget because it was on the agenda that was publicly posted.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm John Silmy from 4 Iris Court, and I just have a point of order. The sound system here is not really doing the job. Makes it very difficult for us back there to understand what's happening. And I turn the volume up or do something to fix that, please.
Madam Moderator, as people can see, if you put the microphone very close to your mouth, this is how we project our voices so we can be heard. I know not everybody wants to be heard, but this is the best way. Thank you.
Tim Murphy, 97 Island Road. I hope you can hear that. Council, I would think that we'd have an exact number, not a, or other sum or sums. Shouldn't we be voting on a specific number? I mean, I think usually you propose an article, and then the article, when you first draft it, has this language of some other sum or substance in case you have to change it. But once you vote, you actually vote on a specific number.
Madam Moderator, if I may. That is correct. If you want, I can reread the article and remove those words. Okay. Okay, Madam Moderator, on Article 3, I wish to motion to appropriate from the income of the district the sum of $2,105,963.44 to be used to defray the regular annual operational and maintenance costs of the district for fiscal year 2027 and fix the salary and compensation of the several elected officers of the district, all set forth in detail in the maintenance and operational budget for the ensuing year, or act anything thereon. Mrs. Moderator, through you, that was a motion. That was seconded. For public discussion, if I may, Madam Moderator. Yes. I have removed the words that are written in the posted article, some, other, some, or sums, as requested. And the budget is posted in our annual report, which is available at the front office.
So voting is open. Sorry. You can probably hear me anyway. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Voting is open on the motion, not the article. We're just giving her time to type it in. I'm sorry? Yes. You have to come up here and state your name and where you live.
Kim Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. Louder. Sorry. Kim Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. I think that we need to vote on if we're going to pass the amendment to vote on it, not actually voting on the amendment yet, I believe. Usually what we have to do.
No, we have to vote on the motion to amend it.
The motion, is this the motion?
She's putting it up there.
Okay.
Okay. It's just been restated. So, all those in favor of removing of some, other, some, or okay. Well, that's what I'm basically letting them know. Huh? Yes, there's no amendment. Sorry, folks. So, Article 3 has been up there, and the words of some, other, some, or sums have been eliminated. All those in favor of the motion of the article with the words eliminated, vote yes. Well, that's what I said, but yeah. So let's vote. No, it was amended. So we do have to vote. Yes, it was made. We need to vote on taking out those words. Let's just do it the right way. So, I will give her a minute. Voting is now open. If there's a point of order, you gotta come up, state your name, where you live.
Jane Hudson, 90 Hemlock Drive. It doesn't say what article. It just says motion to change the wording in article. So it should say Article 3, correct?
This is the way it is. Huh? No, I know. If you can go stick in Article 3, fine. Hold on. I'm going to let you speak first, and then I will make a decision.
Andy Stavasky, 8 Wintergreen Court. I make the motion or suggestion that we put this in for 3, 5, and 6 that has the same wording, so we can just do this once.
That's already been fixed.
It's been fixed
Yeah.
for all?
Yes, they're going to be read without those words, and they're going to be up there without those words.
So we don't have to do this again?
Right.
Excellent.
Personally, I'd like to proceed because we are on Article 3. We all know what we're voting for. Otherwise, we can wait until it gets put in there. But I think that we all know what we're voting for. Unless there's any strong objections, we're going to proceed. And voting is now open on the motion. You guys, I'm
I'm not going to say it every time. You have to come down here, say your name, where you live, and use the microphone. Say that again? You don't just come up. I know. Yeah, the board was already open. But she has.
Cam Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. But there was a concern raised that this doesn't specify which article or articles. But I think it's a good idea to have those other articles included if the motion is to amend it to include Article 3.5.
So I just addressed that.
No, I know, but that's just not what it says. It doesn't need to
And
say
I
it.
just addressed that.
Okay, what was your answer?
I said that I'd like to move ahead, all of us understanding that we are right at this moment on Article 3. We all know what we're voting for. This meeting is going to take forever if we can't proceed. So I think we should vote on this.
No.
All right, if you object, then we will just wait and for her to, I'll have to close the voting and she'll do it again.
That's fine. I think
So
we need to
voting
do it
is
properly.
closed. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Motion passes. We will now vote on the article. We just voted on the motion, folks. Now we have to vote on the article. So we are voting on Article 3, and the words of some, other, some, or sums is being deleted from that article.
To clarify, this is Article 3, which we are now voting on. Those words have been removed by our last motion. We are now voting on Article 3 as written. Please read that. It's been read before, and vote.
Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Article 3 passes. Article 4.
Excuse me. I make a motion to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the commissioners, to borrow money in the anticipation of a revenue for the fiscal year being July 1, 2026, and ending in June 30th, 2027, in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 4, and/or acts and amendments thereto, and to renew any note or notes as may be given for the period of less than 1 year in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 17, as amended, or act anything thereon.
Is there any discussion?
Donna Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. Can you tell me how much money was spent in interest paid out from the Water District last year when the temporary borrowing was done? A range? More than $20? Less than $50,000? What?
Which temporary borrowing are you talking about, from Mass Ave?
This same article appeared last year, similar, but it
appears
is for
every
temporary,
year.
right?
Yes.
So how much interest does the Water District pay, or the Water District users pay, in order to temporarily borrow?
We don't. We haven't had to do this. This is a standard article that's put in there every year if needed. The same, I'm pretty sure, is what most towns put in every year. It just authorizes, if needed, that the residents do not pay their bills and I need to borrow money to pay our budget. I'm authorized to do that. As far as I've been clerk treasurer, I have never had to do this. This is a standard article that I think you guys have asked the same question the past 3 years on. It's a standard article that is in every town municipality, giving the clerk treasurer the authority to borrow to pay bills if needed.
Thank you. One follow-up question. Why don't we borrow from ourselves, and so that we don't incur any interest costs? There seems to be plenty of cash available at this point in time.
Borrow for what?
This article. If you needed extra money for something that is unanticipated, that is the spirit of this article, why not borrow from your cash reserves so that you're not paying interest to someone else?
This only refers to our budget. Our budget is a set number that is in our book. That is our maintenance budget. Our budget is only covering the revenue that comes in. So if our residents do not pay that, I can't just take money from a different account. That's not, I can't just do that. This is just stating, this is the budget. This is what I'm authorized to cover. If my residents don't pay it, I need some way to pay our bills. I would have to have, I'd assume, a town vote to authorize me if that were to come up. If I didn't have funds, we would have to go to our residents for you to authorize me to do that.
Understood. Depending on how much you had to borrow in order to make your cash flow work, that could be a significant amount of interest that would have to be paid. My question is, why don't we just figure out a way to borrow it from ourselves? You have a lot of cash.
Madam Moderator, if I may.
Yes.
I just asked the superintendent, with over 40 years' experience in the district, we have never had to borrow. I understand the previous speaker's point. If it was going to become something, then we should probably consider that, but we've never had to do it in the past.
And we would need a vote of the district to appropriate the funds, but if we've never needed it, I know we can assume never say never, but we've never needed to do this. It's a standard article for most towns and districts to put in to borrow on anticipated revenue. And it's always been and done this way, and it's standard.
I understand. But again, my point is, this is an article that is standard. It's been there every year. You're asking to borrow money, which if we vote yes on this, we're giving you the ability to go borrow money that will incur interest charges at some unknown price. That's my point. Why don't we just borrow it from ourselves? And then that would mean that this article would change.
Through you, Madam Moderator. This article, and it certainly all cities and towns use it, it's just as a kind of a fail-safe. If we need money immediately, this authorizes borrowing. They've said they've never had to use it. In order to transfer from some other account to cover that emergency, they would need to call a meeting and have this body vote to authorize transferring money over to pay whatever needs to be paid.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. The article passes. Article 5. Yes.
Article 5, I make a motion to appropriate from the cellular account the sum of $100,000 for the purchase of materials and equipment for the repair of water mains, including any incidental or related cost and expenses or act anything thereon.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? Voting is open on Article 5. I'm sorry, what?
Sorry. Kim Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. I don't believe we have voted on the amendment to Article 5 to remove the or some other sum of sums.
That's been removed.
Right, but we didn't vote on amending the article. No.
So those words are not in it. Of some other summer sums is not already not part of Article 5.
But that wasn't the article that was published in anticipation to the public meeting in accordance with like the time frame requirements.
Certainly, Madam Moderator.
Sure.
So what's published and what you might have in front of you are the articles, which explain what's going to be voted on. But then someone up here makes a motion on the article, and what you're voting on is the motion, and the motion can leave out words that were in the article. So we don't need to change the article. We just drop those few words which weren't needed in the motion. So now the motion is on the floor. And that reads what the motion is.
Okay. I don't entirely think that's the proper protocol, or at least unless it's changed, because I know at a lot of the annual town meetings we have proposed to do this, and then we've had to vote on the amendment. But if that's what you say, I don't think it's something that people are against, because we wanted the amendment, but we do need to formally vote in most cases. But if you're saying we don't have to, okay.
It's the motion was made without those words, and that's what the meeting's going to vote on, the motion that's on the floor.
Okay.
Okay, there wasn't any discussion, so I had started, I had opened the voting. The voting is still open. Vote yes or no on Article 5. The words, or some other sum or sums, was not read into the article. Seeing no more movement, the voting is now closed. Article 5 passes. Article 6.
Madam Moderator, I make a motion to appropriate from the cellular account the sum of $65,000 for the purchase of a new truck with trade-in and equipment, a new vehicle, including any incidental or related costs and expenses, or act anything thereon.
Discussion.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. Through you, Madam Moderator, to our attorney, should this say up to $65,000, or are we relegated, and maybe we're in the last one as well, to a specific number, or is it anticipated to be up to that number?
I would agree with that. This authorizes the $65,000 to come out of the account for this purchase. If the truck costs less than that, you're only spending what you need.
Anyone else? Article 6, voting is now open. Voting is now closed. Article 6 passes. Article 7.
Madam Moderator, I move that we pass over Article 7.
Discussion.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I oppose moving over the Article 7. I have spoken to the attorney. We spoke earlier. Will propose some amendments to that will basically eliminate the first two sections and leave the third section. So that is what I plan to do.
Do we have a second? But he still wants one of the sections in there, and yeah, guys, thank you, but I was right. Any discussion? on the motion to pass over?
Ann Denny Brown, 15 Winter Green Court. Can you post what the article is up on the board so we all can read it?
Madam Moderator, through you. I made a motion to pass over the article because nobody made a motion for the article. That's the order. Somebody has to make a motion when an article is presented by the moderator, and then we vote on it as a collective body. Nobody presented a motion. I waited long enough, so I felt appropriate to pass over it.
We can't make a motion on top of your motion.
The current speaker did make a motion, and we are voting on the motion. Then we will vote on the article. Tim Murphy, where are you? Am I right or wrong? Guys, please, I really am trying to run this meeting as well as I can. For those of you that don't know, Tim Murphy is our town moderator. I am consulting him.
Okay, so Mr. Rogers will remember this very well because this is the issue that came up when they wanted to sell water to Lancaster, and that nobody moved the question initially, and Mr. Bursch may remember that issue, so that I had to get down and tell somebody to move the question, which got Mr. Rogers quite angry with me. Exactly. Called me the next day. Anyways, I digress. So I'm not sure personally, Mr. Bursch, that you gave them much time for somebody to get up to move the question. But nonetheless, he made a motion to pass over the article, which is an appropriate motion that he can make. So I think you need to vote first. Louder? Damn. Okay, so Mr. Bursch made a motion to pass over the article. That was appropriate. So if you want to discuss the article, you would vote no to pass over. If you don't want to discuss it, if you want to just table it for some other reason, then you would vote yes to pass over. That's very simple. Appropriate procedure. So what's before you at the moment is the motion to pass over the article.
It's not a trick, and we don't need that kind of peanuts from the gallery. But are there any other comments? You gotta come up. You don't get special rules.
Carl Strathmeyer, 39 Valley Road. I think, Madam Moderator, we're a bit confused because normally the items in the warrant are presented by somebody at the front dais. They wouldn't be on the warrant if they weren't proposed by, in town meeting, for example, they would be proposed by some town board or the select board or something like that. In this case, apparently the commissioners are against Article 7 here, and so the initial motion was made that we just pass over it. I speak against that motion. If we pass over this, we don't get to discuss absentee voting bylaws at all until next year. This may be in order. It's, in my mind, unusual, but let's vote on it. Let's see if we want to talk about absentee voting or not. Thank you.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. Just to help with reasoning, once it was discovered that the district had adopted Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 113 in 1988, mandating official ballots and requiring that the district be subject to those or other subsequent sections in that chapter, the proposed Section 3.1 and 3.2 in Article 7, as you see them before you, they become redundant. So that is already covered in the law. Voting observers are covered with the adoption of that section, and early voting is not allowed in districts. All right, so however, the recount section is not clearly covered by state law, or it wasn't at the time when we put this article together, and it, we don't know for sure where it is right now. So because it is not covered, the proposal would be to leave this section in and vote on that when we make the amendments, if we vote to not pass over this.
Is everybody clear that the motion is to leave in, to pass over with the exception of section 3.2? Okay, to pass over, but then you had an amendment. All right. All right. It's my opinion that we were talking about an amendment. Council, excuse me. You know what? I'm new at this, and I'm trying to take everybody into account. And I got a lot of people in my ear. So be patient. I'm going to go with what council has said, and we are voting yes to pass over the motion, no to not pass it over. Voting is open. Voting is now closed. The motion to pass over Article 7 did not pass. John?
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I move to amend Article 7, move to amend the newly proposed Section 3, procedures for election of Water District Commissioner amendments as follows. To remove Section 3.1, candidate's right to have an election observer. Remove Section 3.2, early voting in its entirety. And renumber Section 3.3, recounts for contested commissioner elections, to Section 3.1.
Any discussion?
Joan Pease, 11 Winter Green Court. I would encourage the voters to pass this amended Article 7. In past elections, when the difference between the winner and loser has been 4, 5, or 6 votes, the candidate who did not win has requested recounts and been denied that by the Water District. I was present when one of those requests was made, and the comment was, we don't have to do it and we're not doing it. This bylaw would require the Water District to allow candidates in a close election to request and be given recounts. So I'm in favor of this modified amendment. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Madam Moderator, through you.
Yes.
I'm just looking for council to weigh in to see whether this affects Mass General Law, because I believe the things that were struck out were due to conflict with Mass General Law. So I'm just looking for I'm entitled to my summation. If the last speaker that talked about amending the article was taking something out, there's a reason it was taken out. But the part of the article that is left, I would like to have council's opinion, because I would like to know as a voter that I'm voting on something that coincides with Mass General Law and is not against Mass General Law.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll try to keep the legalese to a minimum. I did speak to the maker of the motion before the meeting, as well as another resident who was part of the. This was a citizen petitioned article. A previous speaker said that motions usually come from the front table, but this was a petitioned article. When seeing this, I spoke a couple of times to council in the Elections Division of the Secretary of State's office, which is the last word on all election issues. And Section 3.1, which was where a candidate could designate someone to be an observer watching ballots being counted. The election law already requires that happen in open. We talked about that on Article 1, I believe. So that this bylaw would be somewhat different than what the state law already mandates, and so it's really not needed and would conflict. Early voting, you may be familiar with that from town elections. It's fairly recent, but the Elections Division told me in no uncertain terms that early voting only applies to cities and towns, not to any district in the Commonwealth. So again, that would conflict with state law. The third one, about a recount process. Initially, when I spoke to one of the other petitioners, the Elections Division had said that a district could adopt a recount bylaw. But at the time when I first spoke with them, we were not aware actually that almost 40 years ago this district voted to use official ballots, as the term is used in the laws. And so what I was informed yesterday by the Secretary of State's office was, because that vote was taken, that actually the state recount law, which is Chapter 54, Section 135 of the election laws, that recount law applies to this district. So it wouldn't be illegal to vote to adopt this recount one, but my opinion would be that the state law would govern anyway, and that it's already actually in place. Thank you.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. So again, as Attorney Riley said, we talked about this earlier. However, none of us have had a chance to actually look at that law and see how it reads. So we would like to continue moving forward with this amended motion.
Tim Murphy, 97 Island Road. Madam Moderator, through you to council. We talked. You mentioned about the early voting. So when you said it's in conflict with the town and city law, doesn't mean we can't have early voting if this article should pass. It's just that the law requires the cities and towns to provide. The law requires the cities and towns to have it, but the district could have it themselves according to the way this article is written. It's not prohibited. The state law doesn't prohibit early voting here, does it?
What I was told by the Secretary of State's office is that early voting, when the statutes were adopted for early voting, which again is fairly recent, that it's limited to cities and towns, and districts cannot do it by bylaw and cannot do it on their own.
So it's limited.
So
It's limited, okay. And that's what you were told by the Elections Commission?
Correct.
Thank you.
Joan Pease, 11 Winter Green Court. It's my understanding that the debate between early voting is quite different from absentee voting, and that the present laws that apply to the water district that have been acknowledged lately would still allow absentee voting, but would not allow early voting. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Absentee voting will be available.
Thank you. So if we eliminate the early parts of this motion, Article 7, as Speaker Fortune requested, we would just be voting on ensuring that we have the ability to have recounts. Am I correct in that? That was a question for council.
I'm sorry, was this about absentee ballot?
My statement was, we are discussing early voting now, which is different from absentee voting. And absentee voting is included in the rules that we recently found apply to the water district. So we're not eliminating absentee voting. We're keeping absentee voting. The discussion is just on early voting now, which is a different entity. Am I correct?
They are two different things. That is correct. The motion that's on the floor is to skip over 3.1 and 3.2 and just ask the meeting to vote on adding the recount section.
Correct. And if we skip over 3.1 and 3.2, we are still allowing absentee voting.
Absolutely, yes.
Then I would encourage us to skip over those two and just go to the third one. Thank you.
Any more discussion on skipping over the first two articles, keeping formally 3.3, making it 3.1? Any other discussion? Voting is now open. Still open. Voting is still open. Numbers are still popping up. Seeing no more movement on the screen, voting is now closed. So the motion to amend Article 7 has passed. Now we need to vote on Article 7. As amended. No. Now we're voting on the motion, and I'm waiting for her to get it up there, and we can have discussion on the article as amended.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I make a motion to move Article 7 as amended.
Any discussion? I'm waiting for it to come up and so that we can read it. I see that. Joan, chill. Now open.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
while we're waiting for the vote, can I make
Wait a minute. Who? I don't know. I
Right
don't
over
see you.
here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No wonder I didn't see you.
Madam Moderator, I don't know how I do this through anybody, but you are like a fine wine. As we progress, you are getting much better, and I want everybody to understand that her position that she is doing is a very difficult one, and if anybody wants to be critical of it, come see me. I'll set you straight. I think you're doing a fine job.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I mean, you kind of have to be crazy to run for moderator of the water district, you know? My husband will call it one of those loose screws. And I have someone back there that agrees with me. Okay. Voting is now closed. And Article 7 passes. Okay, Article 8.
My name is Don Dovek, 410 Hollis Road, Lunenburg, Mass. I make a motion to include within the limits of the district boundaries the property 110 Burridge Street and the surrounding properties to be shown on a plan entitled Proposed Water District Expansion, prepared by Haley Ward, or act anything thereof.
Discussion.
Can I go forward now?
Yeah, well,
I
he's part of discussion.
Yeah. I make a motion to amend. I shut it off. I make a motion to amend Article 8 to include within the limits of the district boundaries the property 110 Burridge Street and surrounding properties to be shown on a plan entitled Proposed Water District Expansion, prepared by Haley Ward, and to include the entire property of the lots for parcels 29, 30, 31, 32, and 34 on Page Street. And at this point, if there is no discussion, I would like to have Anthony from Haley Ward present the plan.
Is there a second for the amendment? Okay, now we are discussing the amendment.
Madam Moderator, through you,
Yes.
Or to you, you were in a discussion. The last speaker invited somebody to maybe give us an overview for the public that is not a member of the district, but is a visitor here, and I think it would benefit everybody to know exactly what they're talking about.
Okay. Let me just get out of the way here. I can do that. I'll go get the drink of water.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Cleves with Haley Ward. Good morning. My name is Anthony Cleves with Haley Ward, Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors. Okay. Again, Anthony Cleves from Haley Ward, Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors. So I'll just start with explanation on the amendment that was discussed. It's more of an administrative clarification. The original petition included expanding the district following a property line on the back side of properties that exist on Page Ave. Standard protocol is when you're drawing boundary lines, you're trying to follow property lines. Years ago, property lines may not have existed in that area, so if the original proposal had a line here, it would have excluded existing rear portions of lots that are already in the district. So that amendment is to administratively clean up some of the existing boundary lines. So it didn't really have a major impact on the original petition. So the petition, again, is to extend the water district out to property 110 Birch. This blue line here would be the proposed new district boundary. This red line is what exists today. So it's this area and here is what would be included in the expanded water district area, which does include an additional 16 properties that currently are not in the district. And again, as mentioned as part of the amendment, the rear of 5 properties here. This is the amended plan to show this line coming back in. Sorry, that was the wrong one. This was the old plan that showed how those lots were not in it. Bringing this boundary in here brings these rear existing lots into the proposal. The board we have here on the other side, I'm just going to move over here now. This is a preliminary development plan for the property at 110 Birch Street. To give everyone an idea of what we're possibly looking at doing. It's a 17-lot residential subdivision off of Birch Ave, loop road in and around 2 accesses off of Birch. So this property would be serviced by a potential water main extension through the new water district boundary. Benefits of expanding the water district not only provides water out to this property, but again, water passes over other districts, and you have benefits of expanding the fire protection of the area. Currently, come back over here. The water main ends at Reservoir Road and Page Street. So, as part of expanding the water district in potential development of a property down on Birch Ave, water main could be extended up, providing access to water main for all the properties that are along that. So anyone that has an existing well wouldn't have the ability to tie into that, providing additional fire protection, fire hydrants along the way. Again, up all the way to the end to this 110 Birch Street. If this proposal were to pass and a development were to be done and water mains were to be installed, that would be done at no cost to the water district. So then this could be installed, and then again people could tie in where they couldn't tie in now. There's about 28 existing homes that if a water main were to go in, that could tie in, developed homes that are actually, including homes that are in the water district currently, because again, there are no water mains in some of these sections. So allowing the expansion of the water district, and is by no means an endorsement of this proposed preliminary plan. Just trying to give everyone a sense of what a potential and the reasoning for bringing this petition forward, but amending the water district boundary is not an endorsement and not an approval of this plan. if this project were to continue to move forward, there's many more steps to go through, many more opportunities for people to comment. All the boards, planning board, conservation, and so on in the town would all have public hearings. So again, this is a petition to expand the water district, but this is the reasoning why the petitioner is bringing that forward, just to, so everyone has an understanding of that. Just a brief overview, if that's helpful.
Understand correctly, you're saying that this is just one idea of expansion? Is that what you just said? You're not endorsing it?
If I may explain.
Yes, please.
Apologize
That's
for
why
that.
I'm asking.
I appreciate that. So the petition is to expand the water district boundary. That's the petition. But to provide context in the reasoning for that, it's to provide water system to access 110 Bird Street. And then this is, again, a preliminary proposal on a potential development of that property. So if the water district boundary was approved to be extended, this project still may or may not happen, but it allows all these properties in the future that are also included in that, like was mentioned, the 16 additional properties, they would now be in the water district. So if in the future the water district wanted to expand the lines, or someone else, another proposal, you could bring those lines up, which does have a benefit to the community for fire protection and tying in existing wells that you may have troubles now or troubles later on. Again, so this is not an endorsement or approval of a development plan for that parcel, just the expansion of the water district boundary as proposed. I hope that helped explain.
Go ahead. Any discussion? You go ahead, Mr. Commissioner.
Matthew Woodward, 64. You got me now? All right. Matthew Woodward, 64 Arbor Street. I am the commissioner, also known as Woody. I thought that was a very good explanation of the expanding of the water district. Just some public knowledge for you individuals that are here. The way that the water district is expanded is through a citizen's petition. Anybody can request the water district be expanded. They propose an area, which they've done here, and they need to get 50% of the landowner's approval or on a petition to push this forward. Once that happens, it gets brought to you, the water district voters, to decide whether they want to expand the district or not. They have provided a conceptual plan, what they wish to do here, but you are not voting on expanding the district to put this in. You're simply not voting on expanding the district, period. Just to clarify any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodward. That's excellent. Maybe it was said at one of your meetings or debated, I don't really know, but if I could get the opinion of the commissioners as to the issue of expanding it, that's my first question, and I'll throw this one out while you're there, you can answer. But existing houses that would now have access, if you will they have a betterment that is going to be required to be paid now that there's going to be water running? Because I think that was what was existing policy before. Water district brought in water, it was in front of your house, and you had to pay a betterment. Thank you.
If I may, ma'am. So that's a two-part question. One, so this infrastructure that will be placed in the ground would be covered by the petitioner, okay? And there would not be a fee for, the water taker. However, if you were to tie in, there is a fee there, okay? But the infrastructure laid in the ground, et cetera, is all on the petitioner. Secondly, this has come up before, as to whether the water commissioners endorse this or not. This is a citizen's position. I am a citizen just like anybody else here, and I'll speak for the entire board if you don't mind. It is my job, and it's this board's job, is to present this information to the public in the most clear and format ever. I don't believe it is my position to influence or sway votes one way or another. So that is how I feel, and I think that's our job up here. This is a decision for the public and the water users to take. The commissioner's input should have nothing on this. This is a citizen's position. It's a citizen's vote.
John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. Through you, Madam Moderator, to the commissioners, if regardless of the project that they're talking about, is there an advantage, or sorry, different way to ask that, is it your expectation that you would expand the water lines at a cost to the users? Right? So would you put water lines in regardless of whether this project goes on? That's really what I'm asking.
Excuse me, Mr. Fortune. I'm sorry. I didn't really quite understand what you're asking.
Thank you for the opportunity to explain. What I'm saying is, what the previous speaker said was that the company that would put in this project would put in the water lines. If that project doesn't go through, the district is expanded, we vote to expand the district, and it doesn't go through, is this, will the water district put water lines in anyways at an expense to the users? Right, to put them in. That's really what I was asking.
Maybe I think I understand your question. Your question being that, let's say this got approved, the water district expanded, and this project that they're planning to do stalled out somewhere down the line. Now, the water district has been expanded to this area. Would you say would the water district voluntarily just start running lines down there?
I'm just asking if that's anything that you have discussed, thought of, would do. I'm trying to understand what the benefit to all the users are, regardless of the project.
Understand. The water department normally would not just start running water lines down there. That would definitely be something that would be brought up to the public vote, and with enough input from people, if we wanted to start pushing the water lines down that way, we would. The water department's always looking to expand as much as we can within the district, and the way the water map works, loops are best for us for the water quality. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Basically, at this point, the water district has no interest in putting lines there at its own expense at this time.
The only way the water district would put a water line down there that had nothing to do with the contractor doing it would be the people that lived on that street would have to come and petition the district to put a water line down there for them, and then there would be a betterment because they would be asking for it. This way here, whoever lives in that street's going to get a free water line or free into the district at somebody else's expense and somebody else's work.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Tim is a gentleman. I'm not sure who to direct my remarks to, board or the public. To Carol. Carol says to speak to her. Can you hear me? My name is Sharon Jordan. I live at 77 Burridge Street, which is right across and up there from 110. And I would like to give you some history on this land and why I oppose this project and any disturbance of the land that's there. It's open. There is nothing there now. It is contaminated land. The DEP has 2 open cases on it that will remain open for decades. The abbreviated history, and this is verbatim from the DEP, according to Mr. Scott Penniman of S. Penniman Sewer Service, 15 sewage disposal pits were utilized by them for 10 to 15 years, from the late 1960s to the early 1980s. Disposal of sewage ceased in the early 1980s following a request from the DEP. Additionally, at some point during that time, an undetermined volume of industrial waste was disposed on the property. That's the verbatim part from the report. And here's a little more history. In 2004, a local residential well right across the street was contaminated, and the DEP mandated that the site be cleaned up. This is the cleanup of 110. This began in October of 2004, and it was stopped the very same day because 16 leaking buried drums were found. The DEP determined that those drums should be handled as hazardous waste. 6 months later, the owners had done nothing. They were then forced to clean it up by the DEP. But the septic and the hazardous waste were in that ground for between 20 and 40 years, and it leached into the deeper soils and the bedrock. In 2020, another local residential well tested contaminated. This well is 500 feet deep. In December 2022, PFAS was detected at 110 Burridge, testing at 20.3. The current limit is 4. The Board of Health has already denied the preliminary subdivision plan in March of 2025, and I'm quoting, because there was not sufficient information to determine that it could be done without risk to the occupants of the proposed dwellings. Now, I went to ask about this proposal when I first heard about it, and I was told that they wanted to build a 13-house subdivision. This week, it's 17. 3 years ago, they tried the same thing, and it was 25 houses and a multifamily unit. No matter what they propose, they need town water because the land is not inside the water district. They can't build without town water because they can't drill safe wells. That's why they are here, to ask you to expand the water district, and I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
There was somebody else. Did you still want to speak?
Don Dobick, 410 Hollis. I'd like to go back.
Why don't you turn?
Don Dobick, 410 Hollis, Lunenburg. I'd like to go back to the fact that we're here to expand the water district. We're not here about a subdivision. And a lot of the stuff that she has just read to you has been taken care of. DEP is on file. Anybody can go on file, read DEP, and get the information from them. We have a licensed LSP. It has a letter out. It'll be at the Board of Health next week that the land is buildable, the land is clean. DEP will tell you that, but they prefer town water. Any wells and testing that has been done can go through a filtration system, just as this woman stated, because she's on it. She has that system. So to say you cannot have a well on that property or build on it is incorrect. And I'd also like to state, we never came in with a 25 or a 55 subdivision. That was someone prior to us. Our development is this right here. So half of what she said is incorrect. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I have to sit. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I stand by what I said. It does not matter to me who the engineer is. The land is still the same parcel of land. It is 110 Burridge Street. I live across the street, and I can tell you that they contaminated my well. I am opposed to the movement of any soil or bedrock on that land. It is above a stream that directly feeds into Lake Shirley. I don't think they should be doing any excavation. With all due respect, I don't really care who the engineer is. It's the same family that owns it, and they are trying this again to force the neighborhood to permit the movement of that dirt and the contamination that contaminated my well, and not just mine. Thank you.
Hello, I am Stephanie Trudell. I live at 54 Houghton's Mill Road. I am one of the folks who will be affected if this horrifically contaminated land is disturbed in any way. We should all care about our water, our access to our water, our open spaces. This land was purposefully polluted, and now this same family, regardless of developers, engineers, any of that, the same family is trying to profit off of land they polluted while putting all of us at risk as well. Any homes that are built on that land, the folks that live there run the risk of getting sick, of getting cancer from the PFAS there. The EPA has not cleared any of that land. It is a Superfund site that was polluted and has not been remediated. Any disturbance of that land will cause those chemicals to continue to further leach and spread deeper into our community. I urge you all to think about one another and care for one another and care for our town and oppose any disruption on this land. Thank you.
I haven't been drinking.
I have no idea.
Oh, good.
Just one.
That's right. Yeah. Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. I'll be very, very brief. My strong recommendation is that we let sleeping dogs lie. Okay? And we don't expand because there's enough that we have to worry about now without expanding that area that they're talking about. Thank you.
Are you coming up to my...
Jennifer Whitcomb, 110 Houghton's Mill Road. I want to support the previous speakers in opposing this article. Don't be fooled that this is just an article to expand the water district, because it very specifically states the location in which it is to be expanded. And historically, this is an area of contamination. I work for a company who performs environmental remediation, so I'm very familiar with the process. What was described as disruption to layers of bedrock and soil do affect the way that chemicals leach into our water, and water pathways change and morph because of disruption, even as deep as 500 feet under the ground when things were just dumped on the surface. This should not be ignored. If the developer wants to move forward, maybe they should take this remediation effort into consideration and fund that instead of the water district expanding.
Sorry, we need to refrain from public reaction. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Yes. Kim Gorman, 29 Burridge Street. So apparently I'm just outside of the proposed property. So my understanding is today we're just voting on expanding the water district and not anything to do with the subdivision. So I understand that all of the comments may be irrelevant about the contaminated land. But I think that the 20 some odd houses that would benefit from the water line being expanded, which would include me, we bought our houses knowing we were on well water. We weren't expected to tie into city land. So I understand it would benefit them, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's anything that anyone in those 20 some odd houses is expecting. So if we're strictly talking, should we expand the water line, not even taking into consideration the fact that a subdivision may go in, I don't see the necessity of expanding the water line. And as far as the, it helping for fire water access, again, we purchased those houses knowing that we were not on a public water main. We understood the risk of that. We understood that we were getting a well, and we understood that our town plans for houses not being on the water main, and they have tank trucks for that. So as someone just outside of it, that's my 2 cents and has nothing to do with the subdivision itself, just strictly the expansion. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one, voting, oh, there we go. Come on, neighbor. I never see him outside of my neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Bob Thompson. I live at 42 Hilltop Lane, Lunenburg. I own property on 188 Burridge Street, and I think there's a huge potential for fire protection down there. My son lives at my house, and he had a brush fire there. We had to have seven towns brought in water to help fight the fire. So just from that standpoint, it would be tremendous. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You did? I'm sorry, I can acknowledge you. I just don't have eyes behind my head. Yeah, I can acknowledge you.
Again, Anthony Cleves, Haley Ward. Hearing some of the comments, again, I understand what was being discussed. Again, just want to reiterate, expanding the water district. One of the things that caught my ears is mentioning that some existing wells are contaminated. Expanding the water district, absent of this project, if this would ever go through or not, having a municipal water system to tie in is an option to relieve a contaminated well without having to put into a treatment system. So there is a benefit to the community for that. Understand hearing about the concerns of the development of this property. Again, this is the infancy stages of a potential development. Many, many, many more opportunities the community will have to voice concerns specific on a whole range of things. So again, expanding the district today, is not an endorsement of this. It's not an approval of this. Not trying to hide the reasoning for that. But it doesn't mean necessarily that if the water line doesn't go in, that there isn't a potential to do some kind of development. It's just an option that's being proposed. If the water line doesn't go up and a development still gets proposed, this area is not in the water district. So if you are on a well, you will stay on a well and won't have the ability to tie into a potential future water main. So again, just keep that in mind, that this is not an approval of this plan. This is a concept of what an intent would be. Many more stages for the community to voice all of their concerns and opinions. Just want to note that.
Come on up.
Hi, my name's Ivan Boucher. I live at 362 Burridge. I do have a question for the gentleman from Haley and Ward. Are you currently involved in the development or the potential development of that property?
Is that okay to respond? Yes, our company prepared this plan, so we are involved in the potential development of that. Again, preliminary stages, we helped develop this layout plan of this 17-lot layout.
So that you are kind of tied to that property. So you would like to see it pushed through.
Again, that's why we're here with this plan on behalf of the petitioner, not trying to hide anything. This is what we're looking to try and do. Yes.
So why just stop there? Why don't you just keep going? Why doesn't the developer of that property want to allow people to continue further down Burridge Street? There's a reason. Now, the gentleman, I believe it was you, talked about the fact that the land has been cleared and cleaned. Would you dig a well in there and drink right out of the water?
So,
Okay, and I apologize. Again, if there's information regarding those two wells, me being on Burridge Street, absolutely, I'd like to see that. You'd have to show it to all of them, not just me. I'm further down. But I understand why you're trying to get there, and yes, I am fully aware of that land being contaminated. It's been tried to be sold for several times, and every time it's fallen through. Hence why we're here for this one development. That's why the water wants to stop here. And
Don Dovick, 410 Halls. We had drilled 2 wells, one at 6. We had drilled, Don Dovick, 410 Halls. We had drilled 2 wells, one 600 feet down, one 400 feet down. Everything came back below the levels and could be done through a filtration system. The LSP is sending a letter to the Board of Health because when it was denied from the Board of Health, that was one of the things with the water, and then they said they would love to see you get town water. So we're responded to all those issues, which they will have next week. And as far as bringing the water down further, I mean, we'll come down the road another few hundred feet. I think I mentioned that to the water department to get tied some other homes. But I got to go back to the property again as far as clean. All you got to do is go on the DEP website, look up the number, and you'll see what they've done. Everybody says the whole place is contaminated through Alien Aldridge. We did perk tests and deep holes over that 50 acres. There was nothing but gravel. And again, by approving the water, that doesn't mean you're approving the subdivision. Planning board's got to approve it. Board of Health has got to approve it. Traffic got to approve it. It's not just the water.
Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, we do have some speakers. Yep, she'll go first.
Betty Storms, I live at 126 Page Street. Many years ago, when the water came down to go down Reservoir Road, I had well water. When the town went by, I spoke with Mr. Esposito, and he said I was able to tie in. I did tie in. I brought my water from the road to my house. And I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to say it was at least 15 years ago that they put the water past my house and I tied in. I never took town water. I never had a meter. It was piped to my cellar. Down the road, I had iron that infiltrated my 300 deep artesian well. At that point, I could still use it. It was drinkable. It passed all tests. But when I went to do a white load of laundry, I ended up with pink clothes. That being said, I decided it was time to tie into town water. That can happen to anybody who has a town well. I mean, that's a well. And this is why I have town water now. I can't strongly urge everybody that lives in that area that's going to be tied in to take the opportunity of getting the water by their house. They don't have to take it. At that time, it was cheaper for me. Matter of fact, I caused a little bit of a stir with the water department because at the time when they invoiced me, they also invoiced me for a meter. Well, unfortunately, they didn't supply the meter. And about a few years ago, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I did tie in because of the rust. They ended up having to supply me at a meter at the current cost and not at what they had billed me initially. But my thought is, too, the gentleman explained that there are 2 wells on that property that have already passed. There's nothing to say that that development can still go through there because he can still drill wells. Again, with the Department of Health saying it's okay, it's okay to have the wells. So that property could still be developed. And everybody is not going to have town water. I urge you, vote for the town water because there's nothing to say your well is going to survive.
Kim Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. I just kind of had 2 points here. As some of you may know, over the last 2 years, the town has been going through our new master plan process under the charge of the planning board. There's a committee called the Master Plan Steering Committee, of which I'm currently the chair of. However, I'm speaking on behalf of myself right now. So I just wanted to kind of inform those of you who haven't been involved or maybe not, that a lot of the citizens have expressed a lot of interest in maintaining the town, our open spaces, our wildlife corridors. And this is a very large parcel that contributes towards, the wildlife, maintaining, our flood zone, so that if you're disrupting the areas, we have less places for water to go to. So it's going to impact the other parts of the town for flooding, animals, all sorts of other consequences. So I just wanted to kind of bring some awareness to that as well, is that we have that plan that the town has gone through for 2 years with significant public input. And if you have contributed towards that, that is what you have said that you're looking for. So please really remember that when you're voting on these types of articles. And my second point is, so the planning board has indicated as part of the master plan that they're going to be approving, voting to approve in the next month or so, that some of the areas that they're going to prioritize for business development is those of which who are on sewer and or public water supply. Currently, yes, this is in a residential district, I believe, and at all town votes, you'd have to vote to rezone it, yes. But if this were to gain water access from public owned water, it could be an area in which would be considered for a business zoning in the future, potentially. So even if this development doesn't go through, it still opens that opportunity in the future for a business zoning, potentially just because it is connected to water. So, thank you.
Donna Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I'd like to move the article, please.
There was a motion to move the article, and it was seconded. So we're going to have to vote on the motion to move the article. The amended article, sorry. We're voting on movement to shut off discussion on the amended article. We're not voting on the article yet. We're voting on whether or not to stop discussion. So a yes vote means we stop discussing. A no vote means we keep talking. We're not voting on the article yet. We have a vote, unless this is about to add what? Yeah, we're only voting on whether to close discussion, so we're not really even talking about the article right now.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to, the amended article that was posted on there included the lots, which was moved, but I just didn't hear a second, so I just wanted to, the amendment to the amendment that was added to put the lot numbers, the 27, 29, whatever they were, I just didn't hear a second when that was moved. If there was a second, I apologize for wasting your time. Okay.
Are we ready to vote? We're voting on whether to move the question. Voting is now open. Does everybody understand what we're voting on? Okay. Voting is now closed. So discussion has ended. We are now going to vote on the article. Yeah, on the amended article, sorry. Yeah. Yep. Sorry. It's hard to keep track of it all. I can't hear anyone. If you want to talk, you got to come up here and talk. Well, she just might have a point of order.
Yes, point of order. Could we please have the screen reflect what we're actually voting on? Because this screen says we're voting to amend the article, which we have not done. Okay, so we're voting to amend the article, and then we will vote a second time on the article itself. Thank you so much for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
Voting is now open on the amendment. Seeing no more movement on the board, voting is ended. The amendment passes. We will now vote on the article. Yeah, I know. No, we have discussion. We're voting on the article. So discussion on the article is now open. Yes, the amendment passed, but now we need to speak on the article itself. I thought we already did move to. Yeah. I'm just trying to be really fair here. We can go ahead without discussion. It could go either way, but I do like to give people an opportunity. I certainly don't want anyone coming up and saying something that's already been said. If everybody is fine, then we can go ahead and vote on the amended article. Yes, as soon as she's ready.
Kim Duffy, 1479 Mass Ave. I'm sorry, I just had one more thing that I, just thought of to consider. You know how the water line breaks all the time? We are constantly repairing it, and the fixes. Okay, so there's a hole in the pipe. Okay, yeah, there's water leaking out. There might be back pressure. The water might leak back in. Let's say there's if we expand the pipes to this area, contaminated water leaks in, it could spread to all of our homes. I mean, I know it's probably like worst case catastrophizing, but I don't know about the environmental reviews or anything that's happened, but it's potential. Water could come back into the line from there and bring it to everyone else. So, thank you.
If you have something to say, you need to get up here promptly and get in line. You can stand in line, because I can't be caught in where I'm about to call a question and then someone wants to talk. Okay?
Don Dovek, 410 Hollis. That was kind of an insane statement to say that you get a break in a water line at 5 feet. It's not down in the bedrock. The pipe is 5 feet on the ground. It's not going to get water in it.
He just said that the break is only 5 feet and it doesn't get down to the bedrock.
Jenny Whitcomb, 110 Houghton's Mill Road. It's not insane to look on the website that was referenced and see that the recommendations for this property were to install monitoring wells that would monitor the contaminated plumes. So can we hear the historical and current data on the levels of contamination in these migrating plumes, and any disruption to the ground, whether it's a well being dug or a water pipeline going through ground, is going to disrupt any migrating or contaminated plume. You are not safe from contamination just because you dig a well and get a safe level.
If anybody has anything different to add to this discussion, make it known now. Otherwise, I'm going to proceed with voting. We all good, folks? Okay, voting is now open. Seeing no more movement on the screen, I declare voting closed.
Miss Moderator, would you
Hold
mind?
on one sec, please.
Would you mind if I make an announcement?
No, hold on, please, people. I have an announcement, and so does Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. It's a true testament to this town to see people show up and act and care. I personally appreciate it very much. We do actually have a water quality survey out there. We'd love to know your input on the future of how we shape the Lunenburg Water Department. There's a QR code up on the front desk. It's also on our website. Please take the time to fill that out. It means a lot to us, so we can make sure we're representing you and how you feel about the future of Lunenburg's water. Thank you.
Okay, turn in your, the meeting is not adjourned. It's resumed at 4 o'clock, but you need to turn in your clickers and then come back.
The meeting is now reconvened. Okay, we have Article 1 before us.
For Commissioner, we had 301 votes for William Emke. Steve DeBettencourt, 206 votes. Carol Hatch, for Moderator, 368 votes.
Okay, so we're all done. See you next year, or maybe even before. Yeah. I do need a motion to close. Can I have a motion to close, please? Second? All in favor? Anyone opposed?